Welcome to this episode of Focus on Growth. I'm Tom Dorley of Sage Partners. I'll be your host today. Recently, for the last month or so, a couple months, we've been focusing on all the massive changes that are hitting all of us right in the face. And so we've taken some imagery from wartime, the fog of war, and we're applying it to what's happening now. We're calling it the fog of change. And the question is, how do we navigate the fog of change? My guests today are two entrepreneurs, two leaders of a young company called Goodnow Farms Chocolates, Tom Rogan and Monica Rogan. Welcome.
Hi, Tom.
Thank you, Tom. Hi.
Yeah, good. So in our conversation today, I'm going to ask you to talk to you about the things you've done to manage yourself through this incredibly difficult time. And we're going to take those lessons and send them out to the world so other people can learn and can do things for themselves. So here's a warm-up question to start. Why did you leave entertainment business in LA and end up in this particular business in Massachusetts?
I'll let Monica take that one.
Oh, my goodness. Well, as you know, we used to live in Los Angeles. I did large-scale real estate development, and Tom was involved in making TV shows. Many years ago, we started our young family, and we wanted a lifestyle change. So we decided to relocate to Massachusetts, where they have fantastic school systems and a little bit of space for the kids to run around. And we found an old farmhouse that had space behind to build a chocolate factory. And we moved there. I mean, it's a no-brainer, Tom.
Yeah. And you came along for the ride, right, Thomas? Which is okay, too.
Yeah, I just come along. I just follow. That's all I do.
Okay. There you go. All right. Okay. So in any business, it's important to have a brand that means something to whoever your target audience is, to whoever your customers are. That's particularly important in a consumer brand. So let's talk about this thing you and I shared some information on a couple of weeks ago, Monica, and that is the brand mindset. What does it mean when you talk about the brand mindset? How do you conceptualize it? And in fact, how do you make sure that it happens consistently over time?
That's a great question. Well, everybody, think of your favorite soft drink. A name probably comes to mind. Think of your favorite, pair of jeans that you wear. A brand name probably comes to mind. And it's not just a name of a product. There's meaning and feeling and work behind that. So that's what a brand is. It's not just a name. There's a lot behind it. So for our company, Goodnow Farms Chocolate, our brand is making fine flavor chocolate that is a food. And there's a lot behind that. There's transparent, traceable ingredients. There's best practices in the kitchen. And there's direct relationships with farmers. There's everything that goes to support the mission of our company and deliver a fantastic tasting chocolate that is a food, not a candy, to you that you can enjoy. And until everyone can have experiences with it. And so that's really essential in doing that consistently and, making sure that people understand what that means.
This reminds me very much of the early days of Sam Adams, the Boston Brewing Company. Jim Cook, the CEO and founder, was a speaker of mine at a growth conference I did. He talked about his brand, and he had decided he wanted to brew the best beer in the world. Pretty ambitious. But it meant he had to buy the stuff himself, the hops and all that sort of thing himself. He couldn't afford to build all the production capacity, so he had to teach the brewers how to brew. And then finally, in order to prove that he was the best beer in the world, he had to go out to these championships, craft brewing championships, and win them. In fact, he got so good at it, they said, please, Jim, don't come back anymore. Let's give somebody else a chance. So that reminds me of you. So my understanding is, right, you've taken your chocolates on the road to those competitions, and you've won a lot.
Yeah. We're very proud of that. We've worked for many years, almost 10 years now, and we are the most awarded chocolate maker in North America. We've been, recognized by the Good Food Foundation, by the International Chocolate Awards, by several other systems as well. And our customers, enjoy our chocolate and come back for more. So we're grateful. But we really couldn't make our fine flavor chocolate without our cacao farmers. So everything starts with the ingredients, and that's the cacao beans. And we have direct relationships with our farmers. So they've committed to farming consistently a high quality product. And there's a lot that goes along. You don't just harvest it. You actually have to do post-harvest processes, including fermentation and drying. And it takes a year to get a batch of cacao. And then you have to ship it to chocolate makers like me and Tom. But we really rely on our farmers, and we have direct relationships, and we've given them feedback, and we actually have a lot of fermentation profiles that we've requested to be modified. We work together. We have back and forth communication, and that is essential to be able to produce the fine flavor chocolate, because you don't hide behind any modified ingredients. We're food, not a candy.
Yeah. See, I like that very much, because it says that the brand is more than the cover of the product. It is everything inside the product. I think that's terrific.
Yeah.
So also, Tom, we talked the other day, we were getting ready for this, about some of the challenges you face with warming of the climate, with issues around tariffs and all that. So talk about the challenges you're facing, even on the supply side, perhaps, and how it is you as a smaller company are dealing with them.
Yeah, well, I mean, the challenges for any small business are pretty extreme. For chocolate in particular, there's a lot of different challenges, because a lot of things are also very much out of our control. From a supply side standpoint, yes, climate change has been a really big impact on us. It's a real problem because what we make starts by being grown on trees, and those trees need a certain climate. And the past couple of years has seen cacao prices skyrocket never before seen prices. And the reason for that is because extreme weather, it's knocked the flowers off the trees, and then what fruit is left, there's drought, so it dies. So the farmers in West Africa, who supply the majority of the world's cacao, basically ran out of cacao. They couldn't supply enough to the mass market brands who were buying it. And so those mass market producers, those giant multinational companies, came raiding the fine flavor cacao supply chain in Central and South America. And that's a real problem for us, because it's taken years, decades to build that up. It's a very specific thing. And then you had people coming in and just offering insane prices. And there was undercutting all the people who've been spending a lot of time working with farmers down there, spending time building these supply chains. And suddenly it's hard for fine flavor producers to get cacao. Luckily, we have great relationships with all of our farmers. We spent a lot of time down there. So for the most part, we were able to get what we needed. But it was like the Wild West. There were literally cacao stolen out of warehouses. And
Oh my God, yeah.
Yeah, all kinds of different crazy things happening. So that's continued. The commodity prices have decreased a bit. And one of the reasons that's sort of helpful for us, but not really, is because we always paid far more than commodity prices. So even though commodities gone down, we're still paying a premium. And we also are paying even more because we want to guarantee a supply. So we say, look, we know this is going to be an issue again. So we'll guarantee a commitment for this amount at this price, as long as you promise you will give us this. So that's been a problem too.
I'm just really very smart on your part, because you reached into your supply network, you built those relationships, and then when it hit the fan, you had some security, some chance that you'd be able to continue going, which I think is very, very smart. Good business management on your part.
Smart, but also very expensive. A lot of small makers,
yeah.
They can't afford to fly down to these countries and spend time down there and do that multiple times to build these relationships. So it's really challenging. We've known a lot of small chocolate makers who have either closed their doors or are considering it.
Yeah, it's very resource intense.
Fortunately, because you have a well-regarded, well-accepted premium product, you have a little more flexibility in that. And I think that's a terrific, pricing strategy, and all is part of building your brand. Let's talk about, Tom, some other things that sort of, and Monica as well, that the other day we talked about the uncertainty in the business environment and how that's disruptive and what you do about it. Now, I know I've been at this business probably twice as long as you have, and I've seen through these cycles that go, and sometimes it's too much regulation, and sometimes it's too much chaos or whatever. We're currently in a period of too much chaos. But you guys still have to make decisions. You still have to look at uncertainty, stuff going on, and you still have to sort of make commitments like you do to your suppliers and other things. So, how do you handle the current business conditions, which I think we would agree are quite changeable, uncertain? And there's
Suboptimal.
I tell you, there's no CEO that I've ever talked to says, "Hey, I love not knowing what's coming down the pike. This is the greatest thing in the world." Well, there is opportunity, right, when that happens. But in general, it makes it really difficult to plan. So, how do you guys, as a small company, plan?
Well, I mean, this is a very different time. I think one of the things that I think everyone appreciates about this country is that we are more stable than many other countries,
Right.
certainly from a business environment standpoint.
Yeah.
And that is an advantage we have always had, and now that is gone. And it's really hard because for many different reasons. But we don't know what's coming. We purchase the majority of what we need to make our product from other countries. And this is not something that can be made here. But, we get our sugar from Brazil, and they were slapped with a 50%. First it was 25, then it's fit, then it's not, then it's fit, then it's 10. Like, that kind of insanity, that's unprecedented. India, we were considering getting cacao from India, and again, like back and forth, and next day, this day. So what starts to happen is you start to wonder, is this even doable from a business standpoint? Because like a lot of businesses, we need to plan ahead, and we need to figure out, build those relationships that were so important to keeping us at least somewhat stable. And we can't do that if one day, next day, it's subject to the whim of whatever. So I'm not sure how to answer your question. I mean, other than to say that we're just literally taking this day by day, which is not a good way to do business for anybody. And there's more uncertainty now than there ever has been. I think it's unprecedented. I think it's fair to say it's unprecedented.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's also it's made us really go back to look at what are our core competencies, because before we were going to grow in different directions, and we really had to take a step back and say, is this a really smart time to do that? So looking at our core competencies. And then, like Tom said, since we depend on so many suppliers and variables that are overseas, we really have to be flexible. Also, just be organized. Plan, understand, this is the plan. These are all the steps. Be diligent and be flexible. Again, I'll give you an example. We're working with new farmers that make an amazing quality vanilla in Papua New Guinea. And they've had so many problems dealing with the FDA, just getting approval because there's less staff available and they don't speak the same language. And there's just so many problems. And, the decrease in staff with this agency that's supposed to help facilitate things easily in our country are negatively affecting everyone. And it's just been really tough. And we've had to actually push the launch of a bar twice because of this, because we can't get the ingredient that we wanted to get. But I'm being flexible, and we've got other bars in the running.
Flexible. One other specific, just a quick specific thing about this. I know what you're looking for here is solution. Like, how are we dealing with this?
Yeah.
But the reality is, we're still trying to figure out how to deal with this. For example, we work a lot with Colombia. We were the first craft chocolate maker to get cacao beans from this particular region. This group had gone in and invested a lot of money in creating this fermentation facility and gotten all these farmers on board. And these are people who used to farm coca. And now they're moving on to cacao because it makes it, with its fine flavor, now you're making more money for the crop. And so it makes sense for you to switch. And plus, they didn't like that lifestyle at all. So they've been building that for years. And then 6-8 months ago, the budget USAID, which was very active in that region and all over South and Central America, was destroyed. And so we've seen firsthand what they do down there: infrastructure, education, support, all kinds of stuff. And now we're talking to our suppliers down there, like, people are starting to plant coca again because all the support's now gone. And so I'm not sure we're going to be growing cacao for much longer. So that's the kind of stuff that we don't see it yet. A lot of people don't see what's happening, the sort of rot that's happening underneath. It's going to eventually seep its way. And so and that's what we're trying to figure out. Like, as this goes through, like, should we now lose this cacao that we spent years and years developing, who's, farmers we support, and we know, the mothers, the children, and this, do we abandon that because this is, from a business standpoint, this seems too risky. So again, we're just trying to weigh that literally day by day.
So one of the conversations I had earlier was a fellow by the name of Cordell Bennington. He is a CEO of a company, but he also is a teacher in a group called Echelon Front, which teaches leadership skills based on SEALs. It looks at what do the SEALs do and how you do it. And with two things that might be helpful. One of the things is, before you sort of jump, obviously step back. You're doing that to try to figure out what is the real lay of the land, and then take as many steps as you can that don't put you in a position where you can't work back. So you keep trying things and see if they work, and if they work, you go a little further forward. If you're a big company, of course, you can make these massive bets like Meta's doing in some $1 billion AI server farm or whatever the hell it is, right? You can't do that.
No.
And so this idea of, but it sounds like you're doing that. So I think it sounds like you're doing that. You're sort of testing the waters, seeing what you can do, and not just hoping for the best, but working around some of the constraints. And I think that's, I think that's what you can do. You don't have the ability to take a huge hit.
No,
Absolutely
we're
not.
small business.
Absolutely
We're
not.
small business, yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's what's really hard, because the U.S., the economy, has totally been grown over the years by amazing entrepreneurs and small businesses.
Yeah.
And right now, this is not a small business friendly environment.
Yeah.
We don't have, huge access to major capital like these massive corporations. So it's
Sure.
us trying to figure out, how do we weather the storm? As you said, I think we're speaking the same language. Core competencies, take a couple steps, reevaluate. Where is
Right.
it safe to move from there?
Right. Yeah. No, I think that's right. And then sort of some of the other, companies we're talking to have this philosophy that says that, well, look, let's talk about renewable energy. So there's this whole issue of cutbacks on solar and all that sort of thing. And yet many of the companies that we've talked to are continuing to invest. Why? Because they believe the momentum in terms of renewable energy, sustainable energy, all that sort of thing is so strong that no federal government can get in the way. So they're powering through it, essentially. Even small companies. So they're convincing their VC backers that it's okay, guys. This too shall pass. But they're just sort of say that this is not the normal situation.
Yeah.
So let's power through it and we'll be okay. But I like what you're doing, taking the small steps, evaluating, going forward. You're smiling, Tom. I think it's not easy, is it?
Well, no, it's not. It's never easy. Anytime you do something, and it's something like 99% of businesses in this country are small businesses. They account for almost half of the people employed in this country, and it's just,
I think maybe even 2/3. Yeah.
It's a massive amount, and just like you said, it's a lot easier for larger corporations to weather storms like this. And for us, like Mike said, we have capital. A lot of companies are like that. It's very sort of hand to mouth, and it's really frustrating. And when I hear what you're saying, you say, these companies are the solar, the wind, the alternative energy companies are like, hey, we're just going to get through. No government can shut it down.
Right.
I don't know, that's certainly a hopeful way of looking at it. But I think when you look at what's been going on, you have to think to yourself that it's very possible that these things could be shut down. And that's where it gets really, really dangerous. And of course, this is what these companies do. They're not going to say like, well, we're not going to even give it a shot. But the deck is so stacked against them. At what point, are you just, delaying the inevitable? So we'll see.
Sure. Yeah. But you got to keep going. Last thing you want to do now is to waste the franchise that you built. So somehow you got to keep going. So as it kind of sort of bring things to a close here, in spite of all the challenges, in the conversations we have, you're going forward. Talk about what you're doing over the next several years, right? To make things happen for Goodnow Farms. Am I not reading the TV's property?
No. I understand. Like, I think in any normal time, this would be like, oh yeah, you're going to keep going. Like, no, we're not going is definitely an option for us. I mean,
of course it is.
You have to look at it from a business standpoint.
Right.
And at a certain point, there's too many things that are stacked against you.
Yeah.
And so that's not something we ever thought about. This is an incredibly difficult business and always has been. Anything in food, but this particular one, chocolate, is really hard.
Yeah.
And we, for almost 10 years, we've overcome all that. But this is very different. So that's just one of the, obviously we're trying to figure everything out, and we're looking like, what would this look like? But to look forward 2 or 3 or 5 years, which is really what we need to do in order to build our brand the way we want to, right now is impossible. When it's today, there's a tariff of 25%, tomorrow it's 100%, this day, that day, like you stop being able to make informed, educated, risk assessments. So, But
you have talked about looking for a new, I think, bigger production facility, correct? Yeah.
We have. That would be lovely. I would love not to make chocolate in the building behind my house. So, I mean, just to be clear, we have a full separate building. It's a commercial kitchen, and it's pretty idyllic. It's right next to our old barn on our farm, and we turn fine flavored cacao beans into delicious chocolate. The challenge is people want to come and experience it for themselves, and we don't have a retail location. So our goal would be to grow into another location where we could have people come and do tours and, have hot cocoa and coffee, and where it would be more of an experience, and also a place to connect, because we really do believe in community and facilitation of relationships. And we would love to teach more and educate people more about where the food comes from and why it is important. So we would hope to do that. And we hope to grow making fine flavor chocolate. So our bars are carried in specialty shops around the country. And actually we are carried around the world. We're in Western Europe and parts of Asia. So I'd like to have a greater reach and have more people find our chocolate and enjoy it.
So, but nonetheless, I do hear the fact that you've not thrown in the towel at all. Right? You may have to pause. You may have to sort it out. You may have to go a little slower than you want to, but in no sense are you throwing in the towel, right?
Well, we'll make the best educated business decision we can as we go, and there may come a time when we do say this doesn't make sense anymore. We hope that doesn't happen, because we've spent so much time building up. And like Monica said, there's so much potential here, and we are going to continue. Not like the SEALs. We're just going straight forward, and doing what we have to do to try to make this happen. And at a certain point, it's more of a reality that we would have to say, this can't continue. Okay. But we're just continuing to be hopeful and moving forward.
Okay, so one more thing as we close. Can you show us your newest chocolate, Monica? Come on.
That's a good question. I'll show you 2 of them.
Okay, all right.
This chocolate is our Nantucket Fog dark milk chocolate. It is delicious. It's our take on using Earl Grey tea with a milky chocolate base. Wow. And we imagined it because of the early morning Nantucket fog with the beach roses off the Cape. So this is a delicious bar. And this is really special. Spiced apple cider for the fall. So we actually harvested apple trees from our farm and dehydrated them and put them inside and used some local cider. So we do a lot of really fun flavored bars, as well as single origin pure dark chocolate that tastes like the fruit that it comes from. So I can't pick a favorite. It depends on the day.
I agree with you there. So, and I know your chocolates, having eaten them myself and bought them for friends and family and even clients. I've given them to clients as well. So as we close, if somebody wants to buy your chocolates online, how will they do that?
Oh, thanks. Well, anytime, visit goodnowfarms.com. We have all of our chocolates available. We have over 25 different bars available at any time, collections, hot cocoa, and also look in your area at your specialty retailers. We have fantastic relationships with grocers that carry other products that are like-minded, made by crafters who really care about their product. Yeah, so those are 2 great options.
Right. So thank you, Tom and Monica, for this conversation. I think we've all learned something from it and have a good feeling for the life of a small business in these perilous times. And thank you all for listening. If you'd like to reach out to me, I'm T. Dorley at sagepartners.net. Until the next time, take care. Be well. Change has never come faster or hit us harder. In the fog, leadership is the light that cuts through. I'm Tom Dorley. Thanks for joining me on our Focus on Growth, Navigating the Fog of Change series. Until the next time, keep leading forward.